but we do want to turn now to the stories of people who survived the very worst of Hurricane Michael. Also, sadly, what we're learning about some of those who did not. The death toll, as I told you, now stands at 17. It rose all day, and given the devastation in places like Mexico Beach, which you're seeing, it'll almost certainly continue to rise. According to the Mexico Beach city manager, 286 people stayed through the storm. Yet, as you can see, a lot of the town was heavily damaged or simply leveled. Some homes did survive. Crews have been making their way through town, searching for people who may be trapped alive beneath wreckage, finding survivors, and searching, of course, for anyone who did not survive. Here's what we know about just some of the 17 and counting who did not make it. Stephen Sweet of Gretna, Florida, was killed when a tree fell on his home. He was 44 years old. He managed a local car dealership. His wife, Gail, was with him when it happened.
He's one of a kind. So kind to help anybody. Always giving money to people at the stop signs and stuff. Would help anybody.
Stephen Sweet. Firefighter Brad Clark was killed when a tractor trailer lost control on a rainy highway and hit his truck in Hanover County, Virginia. A colleague says he loved the military, loved his family, and loved the fire service dearly. He was 43 years old. Brad Clark. Sarah Radney was at her grandparents' house in Seminole County, Georgia, when a metal carport crashed into it. She'd recently started 6th grade. Her father says she loved playing the trumpet, acting, and singing. She loved life, he says. She wanted to make everyone smile. She brightened my world. She was 11 years old and liked to play like she was 5, he said. No doubt we're going to learn more about others who did not make it in the coming days. As we mentioned, in some of the hardest hit spots, recovery crews are searching for the living and the dead. Communications are still spotty in some areas, and those who survive are doing whatever they can to reach out to loved ones who've been waiting for word that they're okay. We want to take you to Mexico Beach. Our Martin Savage is there for us tonight. So I know, Martin, you've been talking to people there looking for their loved ones, people hoping to get their messages out. Talk about what you've seen and heard.
Well, you know, it's absolute agony on both ends of this. You've got family members here, of course, that rode out the storm. They survived, but now there's no way for them to communicate and tell their loved ones that they're alive and well. And then just imagine being on the other end. You were talking to maybe your brother, you were talking to your mother just before the storm, and then suddenly absolute silence. And then what do you see? You see the images of Mexico Beach here, and it is utter devastation. Infrastructure here has been totally eliminated. So what we wanted to do was to go into those communities, not along the beachfront here, because all these homes, these are secondary homes for people who have means. Now you go deeper, you go farther inland, you go into the more modest communities, the trailer parks there, and there you'll find people who are still trapped, alive, but unable to get word out. So we try to be that conduit for them, and I think we've got some of their statements here.
I would just say that we're all well, and we thank God that we're doing well.
We made it. You know, we can be thankful for that.
I'm alive, safe, and well, and that would be really my oldest, because I think she's the most worried.
I may have lost everything, but not my life.
We are alive, we are okay. We're dirty and filthy, but we are okay. And we do have food and water, so we're getting there.
Let me just read you some of the names, because this is important, of course, for family members and loved ones to share if they saw watching on your show. Deanna Williams is alive and well. She's one of those. She's got family in McDonough, Georgia. She especially wanted to reach her son, Philip. We got Faye Littleton. She's got family in South Florida, Vero Beach area. She had just been talking to him just before the storm, said they were going to get away, but they didn't. We got Jari Swain. She's got family all over Texas. She wanted them to know that she's alive and well. And then we have Christine Brinkmeyer, and we have Debbie Carew. So these are just some of the names. There's another one here I have to mention. Billy Crafton. He is in his 80s, I believe 82 years of age. He's not been able to reach his sister. He is desperate that she know he is alive, he is well, and there are others who are with him that are looking after them. They are in really desperate situations here. This is much like what you saw in the aftermath of Katrina, that blackout where people couldn't reach out for help. but at least through their faces and their voices, some families all across the country know that they are alive and well. Unfortunately, in Mexico Beach today, the first victim was discovered. The name has not been released. It's a male. It was a person who was discovered in what they say is the debris field several hundred yards away from his home, and unfortunately authorities believe it won't be the last such discovery. Anderson?
And I just want to point out all those people whose faces we showed who were talking, they had not been able to reach their families. So hopefully, and you said their names, hopefully some other family members watching right now or people who know those families, and we'll contact them to let them know that they're okay, that they're alive. Just in terms of the residents who are there, obviously, I'm sure their homes are destroyed or badly damaged. Are they trying to get out? Are they able to get out of that area? Do they want to stay there now and just protect what they have? Or I can't imagine there's a lot of, water, food available yet at this stage.
No, there isn't, and it's a bit of everything that you just sort of described there. There are some people who are staying because they have to look after what little they have left. There are others who are staying because they can't get out. Their vehicles were swept away as well as their homes. And then on top of that, there are just others who are trapped by their economic means. Some food and water has been brought in, and that is for those people who rode out the storm here. It's not being distributed in mass yet for anyone who may have returned after the storm. They are trying to get people to shelter, not shelters here, there are none, but the roads are still very difficult to pass, and it's very hard both for help to come in and for those who want to leave to get out. But the city is trying to organize a means to take those away who want to get away. Anderson.
Martin Savage, appreciate your reporting tonight and saying those names for us. There's welcome news about two people who rode out the storm there, Danny Wiggins and his girlfriend, Tracy Midler. Now, we spoke to Danny's sister last night in the program. At that point last night, she had not heard from either one of them. She was obviously very concerned. Shortly after she appeared on the broadcast, she got word on Facebook that both made it through. We're very happy to say this morning Danny made his way to a rare spot with cell phone reception, was actually able to dial his sister. Like Mexico Beach, St. George Island faces the Gulf. There's one bridge providing access to the mainland, and that's it. So people there, those who stayed and spent hour after hour, not only physically cut off from the rest of the world, but also surrounded by water. You may have seen this already, but it's no less terrifying now. A security camera video of a flooded neighborhood on the island. Last night we spoke to a close friend of the woman who owns this house. Very few have made it to the island since the storm. Gary Tuckman is one of them. Here's his report.
With so many Florida Panhandle roads impassable, we charter a boat to get to St. George Island, a roughly 28-mile long and 1-mile wide barrier island, where a few dozen people did not evacuate during Hurricane Michael. The devastation that we see immediately making it clear those people were in peril. Tiara Walker was one of the people who stayed behind.
Did you think you were going to die?
There was a few points in time that I thought it could happen, that I could die.
Tiara stayed in an apartment at the top of Harry A's, a now heavily damaged restaurant and bar, one of the very few businesses on the island.
There was a point in time where I felt the roof was going to fly away, and so I flipped a couch over and just tried to prepare for the worst situation.
This incredible video comes from a security system as Hurricane Michael arrived on the island. Torrents of water from the Gulf of Mexico creating currents in the front yard of an evacuated home.
This is the video camera that shot that video. It still remains. And this is the exact vantage point. The water's gone, but the damage is oh so obvious.
Residents now just returning to their houses. Krista Miller's family has lived on this island for over a century. She is a fishing charter captain.
Before the storm took that little jog to the west, we were pretty worried that this place would no longer be here. If that storm had not, taken that little turn, this place would be leveled completely.
But most homes on St. George Island have been damaged, many very extensively, like the home of Christopher Crozier, who has lived here 38 years.
One of the risks you take when you live near the water on an island is that you can be devastated by a hurricane.
Oh, I know that.
Will this make you give up on living on this island?
Hell no. There's no way. It's too beautiful. I discovered this place in the 70s and worked every bit of my life to be here in this county. I got a job as a school teacher down here to stay down here.
So you're staying?
I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Gary joins us now. I know there's been a lot of concern about the people who didn't evacuate from the island. Is everybody accounted for?
Well, Anderson, what's slightly problematic is we don't know exactly how many people stayed behind, but, and this is very important, there have been no calls from people saying that their loved ones or their friends are missing from the island, and no one on the island today says they know of anyone who's missing. So hopefully it sticks, that no one died and no one was hurt on that island.
All right.
Anderson.
Gary Tugman, glad you were able to make it there.